here's the deal. A couple years ago, right now, at this very time, you would find me hobnobbing with all of the biggest stars in television. I shit you not. You would have found me in my rental gown on the NBC live stream, throwing elbows at security guards to get front row at the Emmys, Jimmy Kimmel hosting, every Jimmy, John, James, you name it, John Oliver, all the J's, literally sitting between Ilaria, we have to pronounce it correctly, like Ilaria from Spain, the most Spanish, okay, Baldwin, and Chrissy Teigen, the world's biggest bully, okay. You would see me sitting. I have the proof. I have the receipts. I was even backstage in the VIP bathroom taking a piss next to Sandra Oh. You all know Sandra Oh. If you know, you know. Sandra Oh, Grey's Anatomy, yes. I was even at the minibar for a sign of reprieve, okay, in this 8-hour debacle that we often find ourselves in with these award shows, at the bar next to Zoe Kravitz, Justin Hartley, and then afterwards I'd be at the big, extravagant, grandiose governor's ball where everybody goes and feels super important, as I did, drinking champagne next to Connie Britton and this person and that person, Elizabeth Moss, everybody who's who. Cut to now. I had more interest and knowledge about the birds chirping outside of my window, okay? About the sun turning from day to night, about the paint drying on my walls, then I knew that the Emmys were in fact occurring. Why? It's not just me, guys, because nobody cares, because they are not relevant, because the viewership is old, because they're dinosaurs, and because they're basically in a room talking to themselves and pumping up each other. Like this is a locker room that the most meatheads of meatheads in jock sports has never seen. And it makes me really think, guys, like you gave the good fight. You fought the good fight, but why even persist? So we're going to take this today. Get ready. Prepare yourselves for a space odyssey with my UFO series, Space Odyssey, mind-bending adventure of a lifetime on Talk to Me, Taylor, because we're going to talk all about time and why we are so resistant to getting with the times, right? We know the expression, get with the times, yet we hold on to what is old. We have these weird little boxes and judgments about what shouldn't be done, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, right, with time and age, because the truth is we have a lot of time and we can do a lot in that time, but we also don't, bitch. Like chop, time is of the essence, and it's what we decide to do at that time.
Deemed the Celebrity Whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them, Paris. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby. This is good.
Taylor Ferber.
We are going to go on this journey today, like I said, because time is running out and it's what we decide to do with that time. Otherwise, you're going to be shriveled up, living like said dinosaur, living like Joe Biden. And is that fun for your life? Is this what you want for yourself? Is this the life that you've chosen? Maybe, but maybe not. Roll with me here on Talk to Me, Taylor, and let's take a journey. Okay. So this whole idea, again, of looking at time, and I really like this. It's giving a little bit of like, it's giving, metaphysics. It's giving Einstein. It's giving like, is time even really, is it actually real? It's giving the Matrix. It's giving, like I said, all this mind-bendy shit because, is time even real? Are we even real? Are we even in a simulation? When I get to where I'm going in all of this, it damn sure feels like we're in a simulation. But until then, let's talk about it, okay? This idea being slow to accept things, like slow again to, hip to be square, slow to go with the times. Something that made me, just to kick us all off today, is Kate Winslet, who talked about getting up on testosterone literally getting up on testosterone treatment. And you may be thinking, like, are you trying to grow a pair of balls? Like, what's happening here? Like, are you literally not theoretically, are you physically trying to grow a pair of balls? Because, like, we know your character in the Titanic didn't have balls because, like, she threw Jack under the bus and let him drown into the deep blue sea. But are you trying to grow balls? No, she's not trying to grow balls, people. Kate Winslet came out and talked about how, as, a middle-aged woman, her libido was a suffering. Like, it wasn't popping as much. And she just didn't have the sex drive that she wanted. So she actually said, women have testosterone too. And when our testosterone dips, so does our freaky deaky in the bedroom. And so I want to liven that shit up. I've been with my man a long time and make Kate Winslet sexy again. Like, let's fucking go. Like, the American cause of our times, right? And I really love this because it got a lot of attention. And this literally was just a day ago. She said this on a podcast. So I don't know if it's getting like flag or controversy. I just know that it got attention. But why? Because it's the idea of like, wait, the idea of women have testosterone too. It's not just a male thing, but being out of the box and also challenging that concept of women and their kitty cats not living 7 lives. The idea of women getting older and drying up, so to speak. And she's like, oh, hell no, bitch, I'll show you. And I really love that, right? Because we're going to get to this, but we see women get older and older and hotter and hotter. And I really love that. It's really like defying, again, that idea of time and age and how you're supposed to be as a woman who's older. Meanwhile, you have these fuckers like Al Pacino who are literally 1 foot in the grave on their deathbed and popping out kids at like 98 years old with 20-year-old models. So I'm just saying, I love this idea of like, I'm going to try something out of the box, get a little testosterone, like, take some steroids out of A-Rod's supply, and let's do this. No steroids were harmed in the making of this video. But you get that idea. And it actually made me reflect upon, because this is such a common thing of like women who are older they should literally be the Golden Girls personified. And these bitches have gray hair and dress like they're 100 when really they're 50, and they could be popping it like Elizabeth Hurley in a bikini, like looking fire, and more so than half of the 20-year-olds out there. Like, I'm just saying, right? But again, this concept of like the older you get, the less like sexed out you are as a woman, the less like hot you are, all this, like all of this complete and utter nonsense, Sabrina Carpenter style. So it made me think about my time on the Whatever podcast. Okay. Because unbeknownst to me, and I realized it wasn't just the panel that I was on, but they love to do this thing. First of all, if you don't know, now you know. Basically, their whole shtick is they bring on women to make women basically look stupid and look dumb and throw them under the bus and make them look useless, right? So they have this little segment where they ask us if we think we would look better now or when we're 50, right? And some of you may have seen the one that they do too, like name your hottest woman, and mine was Pam Anderson. And then they're like, okay, how do you rate, going up against them? How would you compare, right? So just to make women basically look stupid. By the way, what you may not have seen, as I turned it around on these two dudes, and I'm like, are you going to compare yourself to Tom Brady? I'm waiting. You already have our asses going 8 hours. So what's another 30 seconds? Like, what's it going to be, bro? You next to Tom Brady, you next to Brad Pitt. I'm waiting. Anywho, they love to do this thing, right? Of would you look better, then or now? And some of the women will say, I think that I look good now, but I think I would look better then. I even have this theory, right? Because when women are like really up on their fitness and they're like looking good, like keeping it right, keeping it tight, bitch, they can age like a fine wine, like the Brad Pitt, like the George Clooney without his politics, like just as, especially nowadays, right? And I personally feel like I've grown, and and I'm not saying this just to be cocky, I'm sure a lot of you women listening to this feel the same. Like, I feel like I've grown into my womanhood, and of course I went on my sex goddess body journey. Wink, wink, shameless plug. But I feel like I've grown into who I am as a woman and look better and more fit and all this than I was even in my 20s, right? So I even was like, I'm looking forward to, like, I hope I'm killing it right at that age. And when people say this on their show, when women say this, they will literally put up a YouTube video with clickbaity, BS of, this person is delusional enough to think she'll look better at 50 than now, right? So again, it's all these things and all these old tropes and these old ideas of not getting with the times, of like, who gives a fuck? Who says? Who decided? I'm sorry. Are you the clockmaker, TikToker of our time not in that way? But you get what I'm saying. It's like, who deemed you the sayer of all things regarding the time? Like, I don't think so. Even like, regardless of age, it's how people conduct themselves as well, right? That, again, we seem to have these really dated ideas that still persist. And that's what I really want to get to and make you think about in this episode on the whole. Looking back, will you be like, man, I wish I got up to speed sooner. I wish I was like on with the curve sooner, you know? It almost makes me think about, even take Facebook. Take Facebook. I know, remember? Just like the Emmys, who even knew that Facebook was still a thing? The fact that it started off as all of just like for college kids, you needed a college email, and all of their people were like, oh, no, it's just for kids. Now, the only people who use Facebook are over 55 and are basically your Aunt Susie. Like, that's it, right? Because they're so late to the times. Meanwhile, the rest of us are like, okay, yeah, that was cute in 2008, sweetie. Like, where have you been? So it's kind of that idea again, and looking in hindsight, and even when you look at generations on the whole, sometimes I think, you know, whether it be tech or, you know, the internet, like a Facebook, or even, you know, cars or all kinds of things. And if you were a traditionalist and holding on versus like being a visionary and being ahead, you know, I often wonder, and it's hard to say, right? Because looking back so far, like, you're going to be dead at some point. Like, not to get bleak and existential, but they're going to be dead and be like, oh, I wouldn't have rode a horse and buggy. I would have done this, right? But looking back and wondering, you know, should I have gotten with the times sooner? Another idea too, right, is the idea, again, this very 50s Stepford wife, Betty Crocker idea of women being a certain way. It's why I talked about the Sophie Cunningham thing, the WNBA star, for being this like hot little number before the game and getting so much shit for it. It's like, okay, so because she looks super hot and is this little hot, like little bombshell, is all of her athletic ability suddenly depleted from her body? Like, there goes, it just drips off into the abyss and she can't also be a basketball superstar? What the fuck, people? It's the whole idea of, you know, my thing, and as my saying goes, copyrighted, coined, and trademarked, but tits out, brain out. It's like, all right, so suddenly if you're this hot little, like, you know, sexy thing, pinup girl, your brain cells are depleted. Again, it's like, who decided this? And even, right, as it pertains to age, back to the hot middle-aged woman in a bikini situation. Again, they get shit left, right, and sideways. How inappropriate it is, how they just want attention. Bitch, you want attention too. That's why you're doing Get Ready With Me TikToks. That's why you're documenting every fucking smoothie and blueberry muffin that you make. Everybody wants attention. It's why you're posing these like cheesy video trends with your husband and your dog and your child. We all want attention, okay? We just decide arbitrarily that this is okay of how to get attention and this isn't okay, i.e. the hot middle-aged women in bikinis. Again, such a dated idea, and you all are going to be eating your words for not being 50 and hot in a bikini. Who cares? More power to them. In fact, doesn't it give us something to aspire to versus being, you know, shriveled up, testosterone-less, saggy tits, white hair. And I know the PC people will be like, white hair is beautiful too. Yes, okay, everybody's beautiful, like blah, blah, blah. But you get the idea of why shouldn't this, why should they get shit? They love doing it seems, most of the time, unless they are just trying to get attention, with whatever, that's their problem. They seemed fulfilled. They're looking fire. If I'm them, I'm feeling fire. We like looking. It is a win-win all around. Why you gotta hate and dictate, okay? I know that you're like, everybody's still sad about Tupac passing, but it's okay. I'm here in the hologram. That is him rhyming till the cows come home. But really think about that. And like, again, the appropriateness and the cap of, you know, what we deem okay, and like I said, appropriate and this and that. It also, I have one more example before I get to sports, but it also goes to people in sports, right? And when they should hang their hat up and call it a day. And I say, nay, bitch, especially if you're Tom Brady, I can watch that ass all day. Age gaps. That's another one I was thinking about, because that's something that, you look, the reason I say this is because I saw a story recently about Pretty Woman, and it was something Richard Gere said, who's a fine silver fox, by the way. Richard Gere said about Julia Roberts and something about their chemistry, blah, blah. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Either way, the fact that it was so kind of taboo then, they have a 20-year age gap in real life, by the way. And what's crazier is that people say, like, it would be so inappropriate. Like, you can never make this now. It's like, bitch, this is not only, like, not being up with the times, this is literally being in the Mesozoic era in the form of a fossil. Like, you may as well be a pyramid in Egypt, okay? If you are literally going to have this, like, archaic way of thinking and not get up to speed. Another one is Indecent Proposal with Robert Redford, also hot, and Demi Moore, also hot. And their real life age gap is 27 years. So again, like, the idea of these movies are like from the 90s, right? And how they're deemed now, it's like, oh, that would never fly today. It's like, bitch, what are we even doing here? I see stories all the time, even if it's like reality people, Tommy Lee and his new wife, all this stuff. It's always like, oh, it's like always made to be such a big deal. And the point is, like, live a little, you know what I mean? Live a little, maybe try it, like, live on the wild side. I'm just saying, like, don't be so short-sighted. So, like the people on Facebook, God, never in the jail, prison, mental purgatory of Facebook. So the idea of all of these game rules really changing, right? And a way that this is illustrated very much so is in sports. The reason that this caught my attention is because two things. One, Tom Brady is bringing his fine ass over to Fox to do sportscasting, right? But the idea that athletes and male athletes in particular get so much shit, it's like, dude, you're old. You can't do this anymore. You've had your time in the sun. Like, hang up the cleats and let's call it a day. And people who defy that, and we can even joke that our president is half dead, and like even Trump is old, like all these motherfuckers. It is on one side, it's like, hey, we need something fresh and new. But on the other, and I've always said this, that it's inspiring that in our society, we can do things and achieve great success and have so many leases on life later in life, right? But when you look at athleticism and you look at sports, even that is, like I said, is a perfect example. Like, no, it's not appropriate. Like, what is happening? That's not the rules. And, we resist it. Tom Brady, like, give it up. Despite the fact that this guy, yes, he kept like teasing going into retirement and coming back and all this, but proceeded to leave the Patriots, go to the Bucks, and still manage. He was like, what is he, 42 at the time, which is like 100 in football player years, to pull off winning a Super Bowl. And it was the year before he officially retired. So that's something that caught my eye, as well as LeBron James' son signing a contract with the Lakers, which makes them actually to make history as the only father-son duo to play on the same team. But they are, when you look at father-son duos to play in sports at the same time period, it's very rare. There are just a handful. And I thought that this was an interesting microcosm, right? Because it's that idea of like out with the old, in with the new. However, not so much out with, like, when you're old, they're old. They're like 40, these poor guys, like these old fucks with Zachy balls, these grandpas. No, and not basketballs. No, but, defying the odds and defying, like, this doesn't make sense to people. And still, like I said, going on to do such great things and live a full life and achieve greatness and success, even later on, while also bringing in, the new wave. And that really kind of, it's inspiring and it's really cool to see. And it really, to get back to the time vortex, DeLorean of it all, makes you really think about, again, that idea of time and that we have so much. Like I said, oh God, I can't have a Kamala moment right now with the context of time. Please don't cut this out as a standalone soundbite. No, but no, we have so much time to achieve what we want, but it's also, what do we do with it? and time is running short for all of us. Like, I hate to be the grim reaper, dementor, bearer of bad news, but that is the truth, that time is running short for us. So what will we decide to do with it? And will you be a visionary, on that cusp, right? Versus looking back like, damn, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I'm still here, in the 50s with my Wonder Bread, wondering why, after working a very long, strenuous 9-to-5 job at the office with my briefcase, why I haven't come home to a foot massage and my wife in her apron with an apple pie. It's sort of like, you know what I mean? Get with it, dude. It's hot. It's hot. It's a hot thing to do. So now that we know, now that we've established that we ain't got time to kill, time is of the essence. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a tri-state, New England girl, like go, go, go. I'm saying it because even though every one of y'all, every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks that they're a god of the Facebook, of the metaverse, of their own lives, that is the one thing that God has dictated and or Einstein is that while time may not be linear and while it's relative and while you may be able to change it, speed it up, slow it down, the truth is it is running out. The clock is ticking. It is slipping through our fingers, bitch. And I have to tell you, to bring it all back, I'm watching all of these things play out, right? These caps and these boxes and these rules we've decided for age, for men, for women, for how to conduct oneself, for how to live your life. Oddly enough, I feel like even me personally and those of you OGs who have been around for the ride, that's why I have the OG Cancel Me Baby shirt repping hard today, is because I feel like my own journey is a sort of lens into this, right? And how what I've done has really been on the cusp in so many ways of what we're seeing play out now. Like, just call me a goddamn mind reader or psychic. What can I say? Tits out, brain out, crystal ball out, a gal has many talents. No, but the idea of kind of seeing ahead, right? And again, how I'm seeing it play out now. So a great example to bring it back to the Emmys, and to see again this sort of parallel journey of my own work and my own journey and what's playing out in real time and in society. Take it back to the Emmys, right? Back it up, back that ass up, juvenile style, like a U-Haul truck.
Bag up, Terry. Put in reverse, Terry. Put in reverse. Oh, Lord.
When I was on the red carpet, I, even at the time, again, this is 6-ish years ago, was so over the fake glossy bullshit of what are you wearing? I even watched the VMAs one on the other night on Friday night. And it's that same, literally I wanted to blow my brains out. It's like, oh my God, Addison Rae, you're the best. Oh my God, no, you're the best. Oh my God, I love you more. It's like, oh my God, bitch, if I wanted to make myself barf by now, I would have, right? But that fakeness between the correspondents and the celebrities. And so that's why I created my Selfie Stick interview site, where I really got to what was deeper and more human and real. And the celebs loved it, right? Because they were so unused to it. The publicists, they're the dinos in this scenario, right? Again, resistant to what they don't know, resistant to what is new, resistant to what doesn't quite make sense to them, what's unfamiliar. And so they cock-blocked that shit, 5 ways from Sunday, and they did not like it. It scared them. It definitely scared them. Like, they may have written about it in their diaries at night and made voodoo dolls with my little face on it. But regardless, and now cut to, we see that nobody gives a flying fuck about the Emmys because nobody cares. Nobody cares. People want to see what's authentic and what's real. I know those are buzzwords that are thrown around all the time, but nobody cares about a bunch of elite celebrities passing each other awards and then basically shining them and sticking them up each other's assholes for 3 hours. And then Jimmy Kimmel, whoever, doing some cheesy ass PC monologue. Nobody cares. And it's like, bitch, I called it. I could have told you, but why listen to me, a little old blonde with a microphone? Gee, I don't know why. Okay. Even the idea of free thinking, right? Many of you may know my Chrissy Teigen story, but 8 years ago when I was fresh on the scene as a writer, and I wrote a piece, again, the idea of calling out the elitists, the establishments, the powers that be. I called out Chrissy Teigen for being a big fat cyberbully. Basically, she and VH1, who I wrote for at the time, threw me under the bus, tried to get me fired. They suspended me. And so at a principle, I quit and walked away. Turn two, which was a crazy 180 turn of events, a cut to a couple years later, her cyberbullying scandal comes to light, where you see her DMs literally telling people to off themselves. And I wrote an op-ed saying, I in some way called it, was at the brunt of her wrath. And you know what? Like, this nonsense of going round and round canceling people, like she still shouldn't be canceled, right? So A, why cancel culture is trash. B, how people need to learn and how it doesn't really get anything done in the end, right? But the idea of going up against what we are told, it's like, no, Chrissy Teigen is a darling. She's a woman of color. She's woke. She says all the things we want to hear. She's a celebrity. She's married to John Legend, who's another, pedestal on our eyes. And it's like, no, fuck that. And a step further, going up against VH1 when they all, decided to like rub one off to each other to make me the scapegoat, right? So that idea, again, of thinking freely and going up against the powers that be. And I think that this is what we're seeing more and more and more, right? Even the fact that my show, per the tatas here, was called Cancel Me Baby, 4 or 5 years ago. And that idea of it was such a heightened time of being told, right? It was like COVID. It was all sorts that people were getting really like canceled, being fired from shows, fired from movies, losing their reps, losing their jobs, all this shit. It was at the height of it. And I was saying this at the time, hence why this show had the name of Disney, right on the nose, as I like to say. I'm a woman of mystery, but in some ways not so much. That shit was right there. Like what you see was what you got. But that idea of like, don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me how to live. Don't tell me what to say, especially in such a heightened time.
Package for Josh Nichols.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Don't tell me what to do.
Of where everybody was reprimanded for literally every goddamn thing. Like, you heard cupcake stores, basically, and ballet companies going under and going out of business because they didn't put black squares up for BLM. I mean, it was out of control, right? And so cut to now, you see all of Shailene Woodley. I talked about it last week. All of these people talk about how cancel culture is so destructive and, is not helping us and is making people even more divided. And sometimes I think to myself, like, and that's great that everybody's coming around to this now. But bitch, like, I was calling it out 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I think that it's absolutely dandy and lovely that everybody is seeing it now. But, I saw it then. And so in that way, I'll toot my own little horn and say, what I've seen and what I've been calling out and my work here has been ahead of a curve that I want you guys to be along for and with. And so that's what's really important, right? Because the thing is, like, what I do is gonna become, and this may sound a little like cocky, conceited, got a reason, but it's gonna become more and more common. You're going to see, we already are seeing people who don't say exactly what they should or what's PC or in a box or appropriate. You do see people getting more and more fed up with cancel culture. You do see people questioning things a little bit versus a time 4 or 5 years ago when it was like, no, stay militant, stay in line, don't step out of line. Now people are start of being over the bullshit all around. And so with all that, we certainly are at a huge, tumultuous, in ways destructive inflection point, right? With how we think and, how we think and how we operate in the world and our ideas around things. And so all of that is to say that I was doing it 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And baby, nothing's going to stop us now. I got you to help understand all this, call stuff out. Maybe it is ahead of time a little bit. I got you to help digest it. And like I said, understand it. Because I hate to break it to you, babe. The alternative is you're going to be stuck in Facebook land forever, like a goddamn boomer. And honestly, who wants it?